Hi, I'm Glenn Israel. I'm a professor in the Department of Agricultural Education and Communication, and also an extension specialist in the Program Development and Evaluation Center. Today, I'm going to talk about assessing change for a set of behaviors, which will help you to report in your report of accomplishment and other kinds of documents. First, we need to acknowledge that there are some assumptions, and also the example that I'm working with today is a set of recommended nutrition and physical activity behaviors. And this data is from 6th graders who were participants in the family nutrition program. So the assumptions for this example is that the data was collected or entered into Qualtrics, and then it was downloaded from Qualtrics and edited so that only the top row has variable names, and then all the other rows are the responses from the clients or program participants. So that might mean that you would need to edit out 1 or 2 lines of additional information. Also, there's a column in the data that contains the pre-test data and also the post-test data. So, and with the data that we'll look at, there'll be a whole set of columns for pre-test and for post-test. And then finally, the EZAnalyze is a plugin that's installed and going to be used for the analysis. The data that we're working with looks like this. So not all the columns are visible here, but you can see that there's a series of columns, pre-1, pre-2, pre-3, and so on. And there's also 2 items here that are worded negatively, and when you have a negative variable that's combined with positive variables, those have to be reverse coded. And so 2 of those are reverse coded here as designated with the variable pre-7R and pre-10R. So before we can do our analysis, we need to create summary variables. And so in step 1, I've shown the drop-down menus for creating a summary variable. And then in step 2, you can see that the items that are used for the summary variable are selected. I've also indicated that I want the total of the values added together. And that new variable name is going to be called pretest. And then I've also checked off creating another summary variable, and that one will be for the post-test. Once we've created those variables, we want to take a look at the distribution and make sure that they're correct. And notice here, I've selected the menu to give me the summary variables. And I have, and then in the results, we can see the number of valid cases, which is 288. We've got the mean scores. We've got the minimum values. We've got the maximum values, the standard deviation. Now, one step that I needed to do and have not shown here is that I deleted the rows that had any missing data in them. Because that affects the calculations of the mean scores on the pretest or on the post-test that we would use. So with EZAnalyze, you only want to work with complete data when you're running a t-test. Once we've looked at the data, we can then go in and calculate the paired t-test. I've shown, again, the menu selections on the left-hand side of the slide here using the advanced statistics, t-test, and then selecting paired sample. And the results are shown on the right. So our mean for the items is 25 0.208 on the pretest, 26.059 on the post-test. Our t-statistic or t-score is 3.334, and the p-value is 0.001. So our post-test is higher than the mean on the pretest. The t-score is over 2, and the p-value is much smaller than 0.05. So this is a statistically significant, highly significant difference between the pretest and post-test. Again, EZAnalyze gives us a graph, and on the left-hand side shows the default graph, and it looks like a fairly large change. But when you rescale it to the possible values, which is shown on the right, it's a much more modest change, although again, it's statistically significant. So our interpretation here is that the change in the average frequency of the recommended behaviors was higher on the post-test than at the pre-test. This change was much more likely to be due to the program than due to chance for this group of students. If you have questions or comments, please send them to me, gdisrael@ufl.edu. Thank you for watching.